Thoughts on Louisiana? What does the state need to do to heal physically and emotionally from its continued traumas?
Well, like I say, the traumas often put more money in than, tell a great story. When I was insurance commissioner back in about 1952, 53, we hadn't had the big storms yet. Andrew hadn't come, and an old Cajun told me, he says, Brother Brown, you oversee this insurance. He says, we sure need a good hurricane to come in here, and I need to get my camp wiped out. I said, why? He said, well, I haven't redecorated it. I need to get, get a new porch, and that insurance money will let me kind of fix it all up again. So I sure hope we get a good hurricane. Sometime there were those who make an argument that New Orleans is a lot cleaner city, and they've rebuilt a lot of the finer homes down there. I don't mean expensive homes. I mean a lot of the basic structures have been rebuilt with much more durable homes down there. Like I say, the Gulf oil spill, a ton of money has come in down here. We're not seeing the economic downturns of those events. It's been terrible for individuals, but we're not seeing the economic flow. I think what Louisiana does is what I said before. I think this legislature needs to say, look, let's just suck it up and tighten up. I put all my people to work. I'm proud of the job I did as Secretary of State or Insurance Commissioner, but if I was told I had to give up 1/3 of all my employees, I could have done it and still done a pretty good job. I didn't volunteer to do it because I wanted to be the very best I could be, and I wanted, but instead of your license coming to you in 3 days, maybe it's a week and a half. I mean, well, it's not going to be the end of the world if someone takes a week and a half to process it versus 1 or 2 days. So we could do the job. I'm saying I would think we ought to tighten up dramatically. Get rid of the state fleets of cars that we don't need. All these people taking these cars home at night, they don't need to do that. We could cut out, I think we ought to cut back on the workforce dramatically. We give you all these incentives. If there's a number of employees that retire and then come back to work on a contract and are making twice their salary. Cut all that kind of stuff out. We ought to reevaluate the mission of some of these colleges and cut back dramatically. Tighten up for a few years and then start right now bringing in not the senators and representatives who have political agendas, but find a cross-section of people from the business community and from volunteer workers, bright people who've been very successful in their endeavors, and bring them in to do a goals for Louisiana for the 21st century. Goals for Louisiana. And I bring in a cross-section of citizens. We sometimes disregard what the average person thinks out there. I've learned from my radio show, the average person out there, if you just listen to them, has got some pretty decent ideas. Of course, there's some kooks and some people off to the far left and the far right, but the basic common sense of middle-class Louisiana are people that I think have got a pretty good head on their shoulders. And I'd have in every parish, in every community, I'd have cross-section of ideas where these people go and listen and lay out the priorities we want for the next 25, 30 years, and then come back to the legislature and implement some of those priorities. I can list a ton of them to you, but in this day and age, Wi-Fi this entire state immediately. The World is Flat is a great book by Tom Friedman with the New York Times, and he said the world is now flat. What he means is that it used to be that a bright kid at the University Lab School or Episcopal High School in Baton Rouge was very special because he had a great library, and he had the tools, you see, and he had the parental encouragement out there, and he had access to the knowledge. He could go to the LSU library. Today, there's a kid sitting on a mountaintop in Bangladesh. If he has a laptop, has every bit of access of information as this kid at the best school we have in Louisiana, you see, because the internet gives him that ability. So the world is now flat, you see, it's not round. And so but you know what? Many communities here don't have Wi-Fi. My family and I adopted a couple of group homes here in Baton Rouge, my hometown. Went out to these kids who have no family, and they're there. The state has to keep them. And I felt sorry for these kids. Went out there, no computers at all. Talked to one little kid, about 13 years old, and he said, well, how do you do your homework? He says, well, I try to get it done. I don't go out to recess because that's when I can get on the computer at recess. Because when I go home at night, he says, most of the kids in my class have the internet at home, but we don't have anything like that here at the group home, Mr. Brown. And so my family and I went to all of our friends and raised the money to put in computers in 2 group homes that we kind of adopted. And these kids were just dumbfounded. Sure, they played the games, but they had access to the internet, you see. They were starting to learn and keep up. And a lot of people say, all these kids don't amount to anything. They get in these group homes. Tell you one point of the story. Friday night, I happened to be, flew back into Baton Rouge. I was up in North Carolina. Flew into Baton Rouge about 7:30 at night. Well, one of the group homes that we've adopted is on the way back from the airport. Let me just drop in and see what's happened. 7:30, quarter of 8 on a Friday night. I dropped in, and the kids were all there, and some were playing the video games. I saw a little boy over in the corner. He was 13, happened to be African American, wore glasses, and his name was Jeremiah. He's not here now. I don't mind telling his name. And he's over there reading a book. And I went over and I said, Jeremiah, it's Friday night. You didn't go anywhere? He says, no, sir. I'm just staying here at home. I says, what are you reading? You're not playing the video games? And he holds the book up. He's reading Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Now, how many kids at the best schools in Louisiana on a Friday night, 8 o'clock on a Friday night, are sitting over in a corner and reading? And we think this kid's disposable, throw him, he's not going to amount to anything? Not going to amount to anything, you see? So, of course the kids can do so much if we just take the interest and zero in. But you've got to give these kids computer access. You've got to deal, that's why I say, if I was the good Lord starting all over again, I'd probably cut off a level about 10th grade and say, let's just don't worry about anything but under 10th grade. Let's get these kids updated and math skilled and interested and challenge their young minds, and then let's throw away 10 or 15 years, and all of a sudden we'll bring them up and they'll be the future of Louisiana. Well, we can't do that. I understand that. But Romeo and Juliet on a Friday night, he'd been in 5 group homes in 6 years, and nobody cared about this kid. You're saying he can't be a future governor of Louisiana or a professor at Southern LSU? Of course he can. Yeah. But we've got to have the will. You and I and all those listeners out there living in the state of Louisiana have got to have the will. Right now we don't have the will, you see. That's just not, we're not demanding of our legislators that kind of commitment to deal with this state. We can do it. And it's not just all money. It's not money. It's volunteering. I wish everybody... You go to my website, www.jimbrownusa.com. My email is there. You want to adopt a group home? You email me. I'll tell you how to do it. I'll tell you how to do it. Wonderful experience to bring these kids, and took them out basketballs and stuff for Christmas. We take them food on Friday nights, and there's lots of things we could do without the state raising taxes, is the point I'm making. And so there's a way. Is there a will? Is there a will? And that's the big question.